Hi YouTube friends, welcome to another week of yapping. This week has been a mixed bag. I started the week with a potential new client. If you remember from my yapping session last week, I talked about having two new clients that I'm speaking to at the moment, potential new clients. So this week one of them moved quite forward, and there were a lot of back and forth on how we wanted to work together, the contract details, the list of to-dos in the contract. Everything was going well and we almost finalized the contract. But I did a stupid mistake and I lost it. And I lost the contract. The client decided not to move forward, and it was tough for me because it was a 12K deal. And now that I reflect back on it, at the moment that I lost it, I was blaming myself a lot because I posted a tiny part of the deal, and this was before I signed the contract or before any NDA, because I was so excited about securing this client. And I don't usually do this, so I don't usually jump the gun in that sense. I usually maybe post that I clinch this client or I clinch that client and don't review any deal details. But this time, it was just a small screenshot of the email correspondence. And I should have done it, I acknowledge that. But I don't know why, in this instance, something prompted me to share it. And it was something that I don't usually do, and I didn't know why. I kept asking myself, why did I do something so stupid? But as I think back, I previously had one client who, after we started working together, she was very tough to deal with. Every time we did our catch up, she would remind me of what I needed to do in the contract. If I forgot something or I forgot what to send her, or I didn't include something, then she would go through the whole contract again to remind me that this is what she paid for. And she will micromanage everything, and it was tough because she also had this board of directors. They weren't like perfect, like they weren't like officially board of directors, right? They were part of this company, but not official board of directors. But she had this board of directors that would tell her that this is not what to do, this is not what you should do it, this is not how you should do it. So every time when we come up with something, or we firm up something, or I produce something for her, it would be like, oh, they said that this doesn't work, we shouldn't do this. So it was a nightmare working with her. And I told myself that, this is the kind of clients that I don't want to work with. So coming back to the recent client, and because we had a call before we signed the contract about how our working style would be like, and this client said that she's quite tough to work with, and that she was actively dissuading me not to work with her. And I guess that should be the first red flag, right? So, but I ignore it, and because I really wanted to do a deal, and I ignored my gut feeling. And there was things in the contract also that she stated that wasn't 100%, or maybe 80 to 90% in my favor. Like, there were a lot of restrictions in terms of how to use the word, or whether to use the word or not, or even the payment terms. Like, initially we agreed on this amount, and then suddenly it became the payment ultimately didn't change on what we agree on, but how it was being paid, that she sneakily stuck that in. But all that, I continue to ignore my feelings. I continue to ignore my gut feeling. What my gut feeling was telling me, and I decided to continue to push through the deal. And I guess the universe is a funny way of dealing with it, right? Where I somehow or another, unknowingly or knowingly, made that stupid error. And even though I blame myself for it, now that I think back, I might have dodged a bullet. I might have saved myself the grief and the trouble of working again with someone who doesn't trust me, even though she decided to work with me. And I remember when we were on the verge of signing this current contract, my wife asked me if this client is similar to that client previously that I worked with. And I didn't have an answer for her because deep down inside me, I knew that this client was going to be similar than the previous client. And I ignore again. I ignore my feelings, I ignore my gut feeling, I ignore my intuition. And like I said, the universe has a funny way of telling you not to do something, right? And as weird as it might sound, but I'm glad the deal didn't go through. Even though I made a stupid mistake, because down the road it would have cost me a lot of grief. It would have cost me a lot of, I don't know, hours of heartache, or wondering why am I doing this. Because when it comes to like done for you service, which is what I offer my clients, right? A lot of times is that my clients choose me because of my expertise. And if they don't value my expertise, then I feel like I'm not being valued. I feel that my opinion doesn't matter at all. And I did something to find out whether I'm on the right path or not. So one thing that I did was to put our transcript of my last call with her, where we discussed our working style, and I put it into and Claude AI, and I asked Claude, like, is this something that is similar to my previous experience with my client? And I described the whole thing, and Claude said, yes, this is exactly the same. This is the same red flags everywhere. So even though it's tough, it's definitely tough to lose a deal because of my own mistake. And it's a 5-figure 12K deal that is important for me. Every dollar is important for me when you are a founder or you're a solopreneur, right? But I guess this lesson has taught me that not every client that or not every lead that comes through your door will ultimately be the right client for you. And it's important to trust your gut and your intuition that this person might not be the right one for you. And even if you push through it and you succeed, down the road, the cracks will start to appear. The the relationship might deteriorate. It might result in a lawsuit. And I'm glad that the universe stepped in at this juncture to tell me that no, this is not what you should be doing. And yeah, I'm glad for that. On another note, last week I was talking about doing pre-needs planning, right? So this week I started doing it, like following one of the my mentor, the person who recruited me to give out flyers. And one thing that I realized about this industry, especially the pre-niche industry, is there are many things that can be disrupted. So for example, they still rely on traditional form of marketing, which is giving out flyers, reaching out to friends and family, word of mouth. All that is fine, but with the age of social media and with what I do now, I feel that there's a lot of areas for me to come in and share about my what I'm doing through social media. And one thing that I started doing is to create a new series called Doing Hard Things on Instagram and TikTok, where I, instead of outright promoting people to sign up for pre-needs package or to plan their funeral or their wake or their end of life with me, what I'll do is I will share my own experience of, using storytelling, using authenticity to create content around this topic. So that's what I did with my series. So through my series, I talk about doing hard things and doing cold outreach, because I was constantly getting rejected when I was setting up flyers. I was giving out flyers, right? Because we wanted to aim a certain demographic of uncles and aunties in their 60s, in their 70s, to plan for the end of life. But like I say, like I feel like there's a lot of ways that I can come in also to aim the younger generation, people of my generation, people of generations younger than me, so Gen Zs, Gen Alphas, because end of life planning is very expensive in Singapore. Like holding a 2 or 3 day wake can get up to 10K ultimately. And buying a niche, so for example at Nirvana, who I'm working for, the place that I'm working for, at Nirvana, a niche can cost up to $8,000. That's the cheapest price, and can go up to $40,000. So end of life planning is something that is not cheap. And yeah, so I guess I see myself as someone who can disrupt this space. And this week as well, I started to reach out to a few of my friends who are financial agents, where I discussed collaborating with them in terms of creating content, in terms of sharing commission, or doing things like webinars, doing workshops where we can bring our audience in together. So one of my friends that I'm talking to, his audience is towards the younger side, and for me, I can talk to them also around, like, this is something in the future that you should plan for. Maybe if you don't want to plan for your death now, then your parents or even your relatives, you can plan for them as well. So that's the direction that I'm moving towards. Gonna be fun. It's gonna be something that I wanted to do at the start of the year, which is to collaborate with other creators, because my my friend that I'm speaking to, he's a content creator as well. So there's a lot of synergies that we can cross pollinate ideas and cross pollinate audiences together. So that's something exciting that I'm working towards. And obviously we are coming to the end of January. As this deal that I just talked about fell through, I'm not hitting 5 figures this month. And with that deal, I thought I had managed to successfully hit 5 figures this month, but it's either a painful lesson that I've learned or it's a painful bullet that I dodged. But I think ultimately, again, like I say, even though I didn't hit 5 figures this month, it's looking at the long term whether this is beneficial for me and my mental health. And yeah, I mean, again, it's weird to say that I'm kind of relieved to have dodged a bullet, but ultimately it's a marathon. We don't try and sprint immediately at the start of the year and then burn out towards the end of the year or in the middle of the year. So yes, that's all for this week. Like I told you, it's a mixed bag. See you next week.